Hello, this is a nameless ghoul from Ghost. You are watching Artisan News.
With If You Have Ghost. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to make an EP of?
It was, I guess the word was due to circumstance. When we were getting ready to go in to record the actual album, there was a number of songs that we intended to take with us to Nashville. Um, that was supposed to be what they referred to as B-sides. Um, and all of a sudden, the opportunity to work with Dave arose. And as we were talking to him about possibly doing something, we were like, well, the only thing that we can possibly do right now, if we want to make this work right now, is that we can take a lot of the covers that we intend to record in Nashville and take them to you instead, and that will be our ground basis upon which we should work. And once we had done that, um, it turned these B-sides, the extra material, turned into sort of an own body of work. Where obviously I'm a Marionette was on the Secular Haze single, but apart from that, it was considered like a complete craft of work from and we sort of felt like that, and the label saw the opportunity, to sort of, well, we can take that release and put that later, which is not a which is not a dumb idea. You do that for the longevity of the album cycle. Yeah, that's the story behind the release.
Can you tell me a little bit about how the partnership with Dave Grohl started and how it was recording with him in his studio?
Uh, it was very undramatic, I must say. I mean, we have a lot of both friends and business partners together. So when we were playing a festival in Holland or Belgium, we we had a I don't know what you call it, an artist play date or whatever. You just like, oh, he wants to meet you. Okay, we want to meet him too. And then you go over and say hi, take a photo. And we just happened to hit it off, and quickly started talking about. Well, frankly, it was actually two festivals in a row. We did a weekend together. So anyhow, we started talking, and it quickly sort of came up that, well, I have a studio. Oh, that's fantastic. We like studios. We like to play music in different constellations, and okay, so should we do something together? Yeah, yeah. And you always say that, there's always that sort of hanging in the air, and it never amounts to anything. And especially if we're, if you are in two bands that are somewhat, well, they don't have to be successful to have a full schedule, and the schedules are full even though you're playing arenas or bars. It's hard to get things, the stars aligning in when you're trying to schedule something, when you have big sort of robust movements like Foo Fighters and Ghost. It's like, schedule wise, it's a clusterfuck. But we just happened to have a little gap, and he just happened to have that gap in mind when we were talking. So it quickly sort of just like, yeah, whatever we were talking about, can we do that within 1 month? Yes. Do 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 do. So it was very undramatic in that sense. It was very spontaneous, and it had a flow, and it had a purpose. So it felt felt great. He's a very, very nice person to work with and to hang with, and you know, all those things that they say about him, it's true.
Um, for the EP, those songs don't feel like B-sides. They feel like each one was specifically crafted with a purpose, and they're fantastic tracks. Um, I wanted to know, how do you guys decide what tracks to cover, and how do you go about making that cover your own?
I'd say that that's an ongoing process that most of the time I would assume happens either, you know, when we're home and you know, just hanging out listening to music, and it's like, oh shit, I think I got a perfect track that I found, and then you sort of play it and it's like, what can we do with this? uh, and obviously that's that same uh, circumstances in the bus most of the time when we're touring, and there's a lot of things that sort of gets proposed, and sometimes it feels like 100%. Yeah, let's. Of course, we're gonna do that song. Absolutely. And sometimes it's a little bit borderline because of this, that, or the other. And but I would say that like the fundamental criteria is that we have to be able to do something with the song that is not that the original does not possess. I'm not talking about quality, but I'm just saying Waiting for the Night is a perfect example of that, because the original is so sparse. It's a very it's not a what you would call like a, it doesn't necessarily let me put it this way. It is not a rock song. It's clearly not a body of guitars and drums and bass and all that. It's just this weird ambient sort of sound, and you can vaguely sort of pick out the chords just by hearing his melodies. So that was something that has been lying around for a long time, that wow, that song, you could really, if you just play the same song but with an acoustic guitar and play the chords to it, it's actually a more beautiful song rather than an atmospheric song. So that, with the addition of the lyrics being sort of darkish and has, you know, it has a slightly almost suicidal theme, that sort of fits into what we are trying to, not suicide, but I'm just saying anything that sort of is leaning to the dark side of the force is